What? The latest trash talk from this flashy star makes dancing on the logo seem like absolutely nothing. And then the coach of the Bucks pushes all his chips to the center of the table. It's Super Bowl or bust for Tampa Tom and his team as the playoffs begin. And it's a Football Friday with us on Get Up on ESPN. Delighted you are here, and we are ready to go. Take a look at this. Feast your eyes on 6 wild card games we have to look forward to this weekend, and the crew that we have here to talk about them today. Take a look, and we're ready to go. RC is here. Kimberly Martin is here. She's got Steelers Browns this weekend. Rob Ninkovich is here, and Bart Scott will be along as well. We will be jam-packed talking football with you for the next 2 hours, and we begin with Deshaun Watson, who, according to our Adam Schefter, is bothered by the way his team hired its new general manager. According to league sources, Watson offered his input on potential candidates, but the Texans neither considered nor consulted with those endorsed by their franchise quarterback. Additionally, the Texans did not inform Watson that they intended to hire Nick Caserio, and he found out about the hiring on social media. And all of that led to Watson taking to Twitter on Tuesday night. And as you see, he posted, "Some things never change." Now, last offseason, Houston didn't let Watson know that the star wide receiver DeAndre Hopkins would be traded, and that led to a great deal of disappointment. We should also note that according to sources, Watson's feelings were not directed toward Caserio, but instead toward how the Texans handled this situation. So for a franchise that has had its share of problems, here's another one, and it's one they clearly did not need, and Bart Scott is ready to go now and getting up with us as well. So, RC, I will start with you. We sort of sit back and look at this. Houston, we have a problem. What do you make of it?
Listen, during the social injustice movements and the protests, Bob McNair, who is now passed on, let us know how this organization would be run. The separation between labor and ownership. We understood that. And so now Kel McNair is just continuing in that traditions because apples seem to not fall far from trees. You get rid of DeAndre Hopkins this offseason, and now you tell Deshaun Watson that you would include him. He's the one guy on your team that went out and played every week. He's the guy that rode on the bus from Houston to Jacksonville in order to play in the game because of a punctured lung. He's a dude that Dabo Swinney called MJ. He had MJ-like numbers this year. 88% of the Houston Texans offense was Deshaun Watson. And now you tell this player, your franchise player, the guy that you made the highest paid player per year for the next 5 years, that you're going to include him, and you don't. You don't talk to him. You don't consult him. You don't bring in the one guy that he asked you to interview for the head coach, and that is an issue. Now, it doesn't mean that the Houston Texans are wrong. It means that the Houston Texans aren't changing. The Houston Texans have not learned from their past mistakes. And when TJ Watt, right, who's basically the face of your franchise, at least till now, has to apologize to Deshaun Watson for wasting a year of his life, for wasting a year of his career, 2 weeks or a week after he goes on TV and blasts his team for not working hard. He says, but you're the one dude that was out here every week. You're the one dude that's carried us. But the Houston Texans don't consult this man, don't consult the quarterback. And you know what? It's not wrong that they didn't consult him. It's wrong that they lied to him. This is a continuation of a badly run organization, of a dysfunctional front office, and this is just the next chapter.
And he really, at this point, candidly, is the only thing they have going for them. So to alienate him, no matter how you go about doing it, strikes me as an enormous mistake. Bart Scott, what do you think?
I mean, remember Bob McNair famously said that inmates can't run an asylum. And you have to understand, in the modern day athlete, they want inclusion. They want to make sure that they feel appreciated, that their opinion is valued, because he's the guy that has to go out and make everything work. When you decided to trade DeAndre Hopkins, it was him that had to get everybody in that locker room on board to say, hey, we're still trying to win, guys. We still can win. We still can get it done. Bill O'Brien ran that organization into the ground. And now you're bringing in another Patriot disciple. Now, listen, I don't know anything about Nick Caserio. I know they've been trying to get him for a couple of years. But, you have to include your franchise quarterback. You have to include your CEO of your corporation, the guy that's going to make everything okay. He's the gap and he's the bridge between management and labor. And to not include him and not give him an opportunity to at least value his opinion or hear him out, I think is mismanagement at the least. And the fact that you talk about African-American quarterbacks, we don't expect this from maybe Ben Roethlisberger, who was very involved in figuring out, hey, we're going to leave out without Le'Veon Bell. We're going to be without Antonio Brown. But now he's seen as a young athlete that he's not a young player anymore. He should be included because he's one of the best players his game has.
Dink, what do you think?
Well, look, it's not the first and it won't be the last time a player is lied to. Look, the ownership, they're pretty confident in their abilities, that they've been successful their whole lives. They've made business decisions and they own teams and they're billionaires. So, for them, I feel like it's probably some cockiness. It's arrogance on the part of, hey, look, I don't need a player to tell me who I should hire and who I shouldn't hire. So at the end of the day, when you don't have those decisions being made by any of the players, no input, really, they don't care about your input anyway, because we're just running these numbers. They know that in 5-10 years, there's going to be a new quarterback there. Ownership will still be the ownership. It'll still be the family. They'll still make hundreds of millions of dollars. So, I mean, it's got to be frustrating, especially if you were told that you would have some input. And, the one thing I would say is if you're Nick Caserio, Billy O got tons of heat for trading away Hopkins. Imagine if you're the new GM and you trade away the best player on your team. That's not going to help your case to winning over the fans. No, it's not going to help you.
We will figure out as this program goes on where it is that would make the most sense for Deshaun Watson to go. I may have a little lobbying to do. We will get to that. Meanwhile, let's get to the playoffs this weekend, where the big question in Cleveland is whether the Browns will be able to reopen their facility today as they prepare for Sunday's playoff game against the Steelers. But quarterback Baker Mayfield says one way or the other, he's not worried about their compromised week of practice.
If you guys, wind up not having a practice this week, what impact is that going to have on you Sunday night?
It won't have an impact.
All right, our Kimberly Martin is covering that game, actually covered Steelers-Browns a week ago, and here you are back with them again. What is the latest as far as the Browns' ability to get any work done?
This is worst case scenario, Greeny, for a team that was just trying to make the playoffs for the first time since 2002 and now trying to get its first playoff win since 94. We already talked about Kevin Stefanski not being able to coach on Sunday because he has COVID. They added another player yesterday, safety Ronnie Harrison, now is added to a list that includes Joel Bitonio, their longest tenured Brown. This team hasn't been able to practice all week. And you heard Baker Mayfield said it won't make a difference. But virtual walkthroughs can only get you so far. And game day, playoff time, is a big deal. But this Browns team is using it as motivation. Jarvis Landry said yesterday, look, we are going to try to win for the guys who are not here. Bitonio, this is for you. So they've got motivation. But will they be able to beat the Steelers is another question.
No, it is. I agree with you. It's the worst case scenario. And the question is not whether it's fair or not. We've been saying it all year long. Right. Fairness is not the first priority in getting things done this season only. And this would be the only time we'd say it's okay. Now, with regard to this game, Juju Smith-Schuster, who has been known to add a little fuel to the fire in a lot of other circumstances, may have done so with these comments about the Browns. Listen.
Nah, I think they're still the same Browns team up every year. I think they're nameless, great faces. Yes, they have a couple good players on their team, but at the end of the day, I don't know, it's the Browns, it's the Browns. And that's just one of those things that, AFC North football, and they're a good team, but I'm just happy we're playing them again, this Sunday.
Right. I turn to my former Steeler friend, Mr. Clark. What do we make of that?
Ryan.
Listen, Greeny, you inherit